Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
And my name is James, and here we talk about all things Star Wars. But before we start with all things Star Wars, we have some patrons to thank. So let's go ahead and thank our amazing patrons and everything they do for us.
To all of our awesome patrons and everything they do for us, Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Maka Tautala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, and Darth Beard. Thank you so much for awesome love and support out there. You're helping us tremendously in this holiday season. And if you want to help yourself tremendously with getting a brand new lightsaber, use the code STUFF at checkout for 50% off, or spend over $300 to get a free lightsaber at leadensabers.com. Check them out. They will actually be in Japan with myself and who knows who else.
For celebration.
Yes. So yeah, thank you everyone out there joining us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the socials, Instagram. Yes. Noah Richard just chimed in. He's in the chat on YouTube. He says, "How we doing, boys? Very Wizard Neil Goonies flag y'all had in the weight room." Yes. There is a picture that I found out there. Credit to Kevin Reitzel from the Phantom Podcast Network. Yeah, that's the picture he's talking about there. So yeah, it's a pretty cool little flag there. Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was kind of neat.
I love it. But yeah, so this is the pre-show, getting ready for episode 3 of Skeleton Crew. I haven't been on lately. I've been really busy to talk about the first 2 episodes, and I loved it. I thought it was really great. I liked the progression of from episode 1 to episode 2. And then David and I talked about it. We were like, "Oh, did you notice this? Did you notice this?" And it was like, "Oh my gosh, there's so much happening in this show, and we have no idea what is about to happen." You know what I mean? Like, we still have really no idea what the main plot is of this show. Oh, thank you, Darth Beard. Again, always gonna be jealous of that name. It's the best name I've ever heard. And Darth Beard is the best. But yeah, it's really great. And I was just looking online right now to see who's directing this episode 3, and his name is David Lowery, and he's directed actually some pretty big movies. Pete's Dragon in 2016. He produced The Green Knight. He directed The Old Man and the Gun. So he's actually a pretty well-established director, and he's going to be taking the reins for episode 3 tonight. And I'm excited to see what happens. And yeah, what about you? Are you pretty excited about what's about to happen?
I'm very excited for what's about to happen. I think I have a little bit of an idea of what we're going to see. There was a clip that was released, I think, right after episode 2, or I think the next day on last Wednesday, where we see a bit of a space tussle.
Oh, okay.
And there's like some really cool ship-to-ship action and some classic starships. And I think I alluded to it in a previous podcast, but maybe we'll get to see Carson Teva. Maybe we see Trapper Wolf tonight in this episode 3. Shout out to Matt on Twitter. He holds it down for us out there in Australia. Nice. And he, I think, will be in Japan for Celebration as well.
Wow.
So I hope to meet him in person. And speaking of, Diego Luna has been confirmed to be in Japan for Star Wars Celebration. So,
what?
I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer because Andor season 2 is about to drop around that time. And Andor, we suspect we'll get to see the first 2 episodes at least.
Yeah, that's going to be a big push for Andor in Japan. So a quick question, and listeners, you can laugh at me if you want. So SM33, which is voiced by Nick Frost, who's amazing, one of the funniest actors in the world, is the droid, or is it the little rat that is controlling him? I have a feeling this little rat inside of his brain is controlling SM33, and that's who we are talking to. I have a feeling. I don't know why. Just the way he falls to the ground and he runs out of the eyeball, and they kind of looked at him and they kind of held on him running away. I was like, okay, were we talking to the droid, or was he controlling the droid from the inside? And so I'm wondering if that's gonna be a thing. I don't know. What?
Does
No,
that theory track? Did you go back and look at the times where he was like activated? Was the rat in the eyeball?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that theory before.
I
Interesting.
might I might be I might be way off, everybody, but just when he collapsed and fell and how they kind of zoomed in, the rat ran out of him, and I was just like, oh, and then that's when it hit me. Oh, is that Smee? Is that the anyways.
Interesting.
Um yeah, people online think it's funny. Darth Beard says it'd be like the little alien in Men in Black, which yeah,
Yeah.
and SM33, yes, Smee. I'm just gonna call him Smee because
Yeah.
that's. And I'm not gonna lie, I was really taken aback by the pirate, like heavy pirate themed, you know, the way they're building that world. And, I think we'd all heard about it. We'd all kind of expected it. And when I saw the skull and crossbone, quote unquote, for the poster, I was like, okay, that's gonna be like kind of like a subtle, like genre in the background. But no, it's a pirate port. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean. They go to the port to find, where to go, and you have all these people there trying to make money. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is really a pirate adventure in Star Wars. And we haven't seen that really, and I'm excited. I want to see where this goes. Were you kind of taken aback by how much pirate genre it is?
Well, with the whole Smee thing, that kind of got
Made you
me in
go,
the
okay, yeah,
whole
this is
headspace of seeing a pirate adventure in Star Wars, and the droid Smee has a peg leg even. So I mean, they really went like full tilt into the whole pirate theme thing. Um, Skeleton Crew, Skeleton Pirates,
yeah,
Pirates of
pirates.
the
Yeah,
Caribbean
I don't know why
stuff.
my brain just didn't want to believe that that was what it was really going to be. I was just like, oh, it's going to maybe be like a little bit of like a hint, But now I'm like, oh, this is a pirate adventure in Star Wars. And Adam Harbor, shout out to Adam Harbor. He's listening. Smee is Ratatouille, maybe. Who knows? Could be something. I mean, they did the Western style in Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, that's true. They did the Western style. They even did like the indigenous people, the spirit, the mind quest where, Boba Fett goes to like, see stuff. And,
I haven't thought about that in so long.
yes, what did they people?
Little gecko.
Uh, yeah, he was sipping on some. Oh, I forget what somebody said. Like he was on the lizard. Yeah. Anyways, tripping on lizard. And anyways, um, but yeah, I on online the skeleton crew is rated very very well, and there's really no negative talk about this show so far. I'm not gonna lie, people might jump on and start destroying it later, but the first two episodes, that backlash that we saw with the Acolyte is not here right now at all. And then David pointed this out to me. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. Star Wars Skeleton Crew is the second highest rated live action Star Wars series on Rotten Tomatoes behind Andor, which is ridiculous, which is crazy because Andor, I think, is the best of the Disney Plus, but we're only two episodes in, and it's already that highly rated. So, uh, why do you think there isn't that much backlash behind this as opposed to the Acolyte? Because I felt like within the first episode or two of Acolyte, it was already being review bombed. Even Joe Egerton's movie that he directed back in 2009 or 8 was being review bombed, called The Acolyte, and even though it had nothing to do with it. But why do you think that is that this one is doing so well as opposed to The Acolyte?
I think there's two big reasons. One, it's kids, it's starring kids. The other thing is there was no expectation with the Acolyte. We had the expectations of Jedi's and Sith, and then the whole promise at the very, very beginning of the Acolyte announcement is that we're going to get a view through the eyes of the Sith, and we really didn't get that the way I think a lot of fans thought we were going to get. Um, so those are the two big reasons, I think. And I think Star Wars TV has gotten to the point where people's expectations aren't as high anymore, which is a little
Yeah.
disappointing. But it seems like a lot of people don't know that this is the second most expensive TV show of all time. And we saw a lot of money on that screen in the first two episodes, I think.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very cinematic, and I think we're gonna get a lot of action tonight, especially in outer space, which I love. So yeah, we should see a lot of stuff. I mean, they did not hold back spending cash on this idea. And I really wonder why that is. I mean, John Watts, I mean, yeah, he did the Spider-Man trilogy, but other than that, I mean, do you think it was just like Favreau and Filoni like super behind backing them, and
Or it was
or
just
did the
a
story just
good,
call for it?
yeah, maybe the story was that good that,
Yeah.
Lucasfilm was like, "Yeah, we are going all out with this one." And yeah, as you said, the first 2 episodes, the visual effects, the production value is insane. It looks so good. Um, and you could see that money is well spent. And Darth Beard has a theory as to why the Acolyte was maybe not well received. I think that was down to the director with the Acolyte. I think she rubbed people the wrong way before it even aired, or showrunner, yeah. Um, Leslie Headland, yeah. So I know that was kind of a thing, but I will say my wife loved the Acolyte. She thought that was such a great show because she's always felt the Jedi were kind of weird, and then she was like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But yeah, my wife loved the Acolyte. But yeah, if you go on IMDb, the first 2 episodes have a 9.5 rating. Both of them do. So that's really good for Star Wars. I know that they're probably really happy about that.
Unless you go to
Um,
IGN. They
yeah,
gave it a
yeah.
7 for episodes 1 and 2. They say the show will have to pay off its foreshadowed mysteries in a satisfying way if it hopes to leave us with something half as memorable as its inspiration, but the fact that there seems to be a story justification for the 80s nostalgia bait aesthetics it slathers on is a good sign for things to come.
That's really weird that they would say it has a 7 now, but it has to earn the rest of it for the rest of the episode. It's like it's 2 episodes in. I feel like we shouldn't be
Yeah.
rating. I mean, individual episodes I get, but like rating the whole show as a whole, a 7, 2 episodes in, I'm like, all right, that's a little ridiculous. But yeah, we're only 2 episodes in, and I was kind of right. A lot of what we have seen in the trailers we've already seen in the first 2 episodes. Like a lot of the promotional stuff that we have been watching in the promos was just the first 2 episodes. I think we might see more this episode, and my prediction is by episode 4 we are watching a whole stuff we haven't even seen yet. Um yeah, I was really shocked from the first episode to the second episode. I said, "Wow, this is a lot of the trailer." And that's great. That means there's stuff we haven't even seen once. So the main plot itself hasn't even really been revealed. So it's pretty exciting. And one thing I did like in episode 2 was the subtle force theme when Jude Law was calling the keys to him. There was the
Hmm.
hit of the force theme, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good!" I was just freaking out.
So, what is
And
your theory behind Jude Law's character? You've seen episodes 1 and 2. You've seen Captain
so,
Silvo. Is he Captain Silvo?
oh yeah,
Did he
definitely.
use the Force to get the keys, or is it like a magic trick type thing?
I mean, yeah, he's the director. He's the captain at the beginning who they meet with and they throw him in the prison. He's and I mean, I was unsure until I did hear the Force theme because I don't think they would just kind of nonchalantly throw that in there if it was fake. Like I think he really was using the Force. I think he is somebody who knows how to use the Force, but he's not a Jedi. I don't think he became a Jedi. I think maybe his family knew that he was Force sensitive and that it was during the whole galactic, civil war, so he was kind of hidden from all of that, much like Grogu was. But I don't think he ever actually went to learn anything about being a Jedi.
So, no training, but he has Force
I
sensitivity.
think yeah, I think he's
It's
Force
really hard
sensitive.
for him to use the Force. He's like
Yes.
a low level Force user. Okay.
But he is low level because he needs the kids to help him out. He could have grabbed those keys at any time to leave, but he needed them there. He saw that they had money, and he says, "Oh, this is my ticket out. Now I can call the keys, and then these kids are going to help me get out of here." So that was my theory. The moment I heard the Force theme, I said, "Oh, Force sensitive, but he's not a Jedi." But of course, Wim is going to be like, "Oh my gosh, you're a Jedi," and he's going to be wanting to probably hear stories and so that's going to be interesting to hear Jude Law's character try to make up stories as to how he was a Jedi and where he was, and if he, yeah. So, how long do you think he waited to show off his skills? I don't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. when he became a pirate, maybe his parents were pirates, and that's how he got put in that world. And they just told him to not show anybody what you could do because you're going to get hunted and killed. So who knows? Who knows? It's interesting. It's a really interesting uh, course they could take with this character to figure out where he fits into all of this.
I wonder when we're going to hear his name, Jod Nanawood.
Opening line of episode 3 tonight, he's going to say, I'm John Nana. I'm just kidding. He just says it. He just says it all. We're like, oh, okay, there it goes.
Is he making it up? He's like, I'm Jod Nanawood?
Maybe. I'm not joking. He might make stuff up. He might. But my question is, and I was hoping to hear it, which is I want to hear, or I guess my question is, are they going to mention Luke Skywalker? Are they going to mention Leia Organa? Are they going to mention the Galactic Civil War, or the Empire, the fall of, the rise of the New Republic? And you know what I mean? Like, are we going to get any of that? Do you think?
Well, we did get mentions all in Arabish, though, of another Jedi and his adventures in that storybook that Wim was reading.
Yeah. And my theory immediately was, oh, this is the Dawn of the Jedi that we're going to see later on, maybe. That'd be pretty cool. The Jays
That would be cool, because then we'd have like lightsabers and Sith and stuff like that. Interesting.
Darth Beard says, no, these kids know nothing about them, which I think you are right, because it feels like these kids are being taught something else, and which is a whole other thing that this planet at Aden is like, what is going on? What is the story behind this planet, to where all the pirates are just like, that's not a real place. And the kids are there. Like, it's, oh my, there's so much mystery as to what's going on.
Yeah, there's one huge theory. Darth Beard on YouTube says, and the general public didn't know about Luke either. Yeah, there's no real space CNN for everyone to watch and get the news from. So even though there's like hollows and stuff like that. And we did see a little bit of that in Mando season 2 when the Death Star blew up. They had that projection. But the overriding theory that I really like, that was shared almost immediately, and we kind of touched a little bit on the possibilities of this during the post show last Tuesday, is the fact that all these people that are going through life doing these very mundane, boring jobs all could be in training to be the future workers of the First Order. They could all be training to work on Starkiller Base. And because you ask yourself, where do you get the huge workforce to work for the First Order? And we all know that the Mandoverse is leading up to the First Order. Yeah. And we got to like really hit the road here and start explaining stuff, because we got like some of the cloning stuff that we saw in later episodes of The Mandalorian. But we really haven't gotten that huge piece of connective tissue. We saw like Brindle Hux. But other than that, I mean, could Skeleton Crew be the show that really moves us forward into telling that story of the origins of the First Order?
That would be amazing. I think that would be such a great surprise for everybody, because I think everybody just thinks this is a just kind of controlled adventure within Star Wars. I don't think people are really going, like, seeing how it's going to play into the rest of the of the storyline leading up to The Force Awakens. But yeah, the way the planet is, the way they are kind of brainwashed, if you may, you have to study, you have to take these tests, and then once you become then you got to become an analyst, then you're going to have to do this, so you have to do this, and it's all very, very brainwash-esque of, what's about to happen. And nobody can leave the planet. I think they're forbidden to leave. They've never seen stars before, because there's like a blanket over the planet, if you may. So, I mean, they've heard of it. They've heard of stars. They've heard of hyperspace, because in the next episode, the kid says we're in hyperspace. So it's like, oh, they know of it, but they just never seen it, which is crazy to think about. And so yeah, it's a big mystery as to what this planet represents, and whether or not this is going to play into the First Order, which I think it kind of has to. I think whatever it is they're training this planet and the population of Aden is leading to the First Order. It has to be. Like, they were probably I forget what the character was, but there's a character in Empire's End, which is written by Chuck Wendig, who gets sent away because the Emperor is predicting he might not live, but that there's going to be steps taken to ensure the lasting effects of the Empire keep going. So this might be it. This might be that story, which I'm all for. I think that's a great thing for it to be. And
Yeah,
then Darth,
Darthbeard on YouTube, he says that the general public didn't know. Well, yeah, we read that part. I clicked on the wrong one. He says, I'm thinking at Aten is a space station. That's my prediction. Very well
ooh,
could be. It's cloaked for
that's no
whatever
moon.
reason. No, Richard on YouTube says, I know that y'all said last week it's going to be more of an adult-oriented show than people think. Do you think they do something like killing one of the kids?
Ooh, no.
So I want to
No.
say,
Do not kill a kid. Do not kill any of these kids. That's dark
that
even
would be
for
very
Star
dark.
Wars.
That'd be very dark for Disney. Although just about every mom dies in a Disney movie. I was hearing talk actually about a possible death.
Whoa.
But then again, I mean nothing solid, but
Yeah.
I mean just talk really. I don't know. I mean, it's even hard to say if Jude Law's going to die because you would figure they would want Jude Law to be in the films, that connect.
Jude Law, like
Yeah.
he's a name. He's a well-established actor who's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And it's great that he's in Star Wars. So yeah. Don't they have HoloNet, or is that left in the E? They have I believe they have HoloNet.
Yeah,
we saw that in season 2 of episode 1 of Mandalorian, whenever they're watching the explosion of the Death Star, which I think was the HoloNet. Oh, I think we have there he is. How you doing, Ted?
Good. How are you, gentlemen?
Oh, we are
Good.
doing great. We're talking about Skeleton Crew, and we are excited. We have some people wondering what Aten is, the planet that the kids were from, and how that's going to play into maybe introducing the First Order somehow. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well,
Uh-oh.
a couple of things. It was very evident, and we immediately talked about this last week. It was very evident that this whole thing is a ruse, right?
Yeah.
It was keeping an entire people under severe control, and the control is taken to great lengths.
Yeah.
So I mentioned all of this, and you only do that if something nefarious is happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like, you have to keep the public completely naive in order to carry out your very nefarious activities that are taking place. And so that's just where my head goes first.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna pretend to like theorize anything like First Order related, only because I feel like I'm just holding my breath at that point. I don't know when they're ever gonna try and tie the sequel trilogies to anything. Eventually it might happen, but I just feel like we're setting ourselves up for disappointment, along with dozens of other fan theories we've always had in the past that never panned out. So I'm willing to just place my money on something extremely nefarious is taking place. That's why the public is kept completely blind to the outside universe. I was going to say outside world, but outside universe. And why this place doesn't feel like it's in Star Wars. This planet does not look like Star Wars.
That's
This
true.
looks like Toronto in the year 2055 or something. Does not look like a galaxy far, far away. It looks like the Disney attraction, the future tomorrow. Like, that's what this place is. Like, you know what I mean? So
I mean, to me, it reminds me of more like the early 1980s in like California for like ET or something, like the neighborhood of ET.
Like they're riding
That's
their
what it
bikes.
reminds.
They're
That's
yeah.
like me.
which isn't Star Wars. Like nobody's out walking pets and living in suburbia in the Star Wars galaxy. Not that I can remember. Everybody's just trying to survive wherever they're at. Even in Coruscant, even the wealthy, they don't live like this. Nobody lives this. You're either like super wealthy or you're dirt poor, and there's no in between.
That's a good point. You're right. We haven't really seen a world like this in Star Wars. And again, the galaxy is huge. There could be a planet that, there's a lava planet, there's a snow planet, you know what I mean? So it does exist, but you are right. The way that the it's set up, we haven't seen before in Star Wars. And even on Naboo, it didn't look like this. You know what I mean? And Naboo was considered like a beautiful planet. And even Alderaan, what we've seen so far, didn't really look like this at all. So it's interesting to see who is running this planet.
It's like a suburban utopia.
Yes.
Which doesn't exist.
Which doesn't exist, but it's interesting because the moment they leave the planet, it then hits you like, oh, there is a reason why it's weird. There is a reason why this doesn't fit like what we've seen. And then now it's starting to go, okay, so what is really going on this planet? And yeah, that's a good point, Ted and Craig, with that. Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, this is interesting. And then you're like, wait a second, why is this? Matt says, I think the suburbs are great. Not everyone Star Wars lives in a moisture farm or a city planet. I love it because it's different. And that's another thing. We're not on Tatooine. And I know everybody always complains, oh my gosh, we're going back to Tatooine.
I love Tatooine.
I know some people just hate that they keep going back to Tatooine. So that's one thing they try to do.
I don't mind, but I don't mind that they go back to Tatooine. But it is nice that they are developing more planets.
Yeah, that's true. So what do you think we're gonna leave the space station that they're on this episode, or do you think the ending of this episode is us leaving finally? What do you think's gonna happen?
I'm always like, seriously, I want to be hopeful with Star Wars projects where like the plot gets moving and we're like doing stuff, but you're probably spot on. The whole episode is going to be them getting off the station, and that'll be that. I really would love them to keep pushing the plot forward.
Me too.
And start unraveling this mystery more and more. We'll probably do that with the dad of Wim. He'll probably be the character we follow and start, noticing things are sort of out of the ordinary and out of place. And listen, you can love the suburbs. I live in the suburbs. Suburbs are great. There's just a very specific reason why we're mimicking the suburbs on this planet that does not exist. And this is the first time we've ever noticed anything like it. If this pans out to being like the initial humble beginnings of the First Order, what does that say about the First Order? That they have the most perfect utopian planet we've ever witnessed in a galaxy far, far away, and yet they're considered the bad guys. So yeah, suburbs are absolutely great, but it's very specific why they made this detail. It's not just randomize, hey, what haven't we seen yet? It's very specific why they're doing this, and it's I can't wait to figure out why. But I really hope, again, we get off the station quickly and we start moving things forward. I don't want to waste any more time on this thing.
I agree. And I liked the fact that episode 2, where it started, it was like, oh, we are just going, we are moving. And it's like, okay, please don't stop at episode 3. Please let's just keep going, get off the station. Let's go to the next chapter and let's see what's going on with that. What do you think, Craig? Are we going to stay there? Or are we gonna go somewhere else?
No, I think they're gonna get off, but where they would go is a good question. Maybe what Jude Law's character says, I know someone that can help or something like that, and we have to get out of here or something. So I think they have to get going. Otherwise they'd be spending half the episode in the jail cell,
or half the episode just running around the station trying to stay hidden from the Steve Urkel and all them. And I don't know. It just depends. Oh, fun fact.
Well,
I can't say who it was, but a coworker of mine, her younger sister plays one of the aliens, and she didn't know who she was going to be or where she was going to be. And then she sent her sister a picture. That was me in the background there when they were all meeting and like surrounding the kids. And I was like, that's really cool. But anyways, sorry. I just want to throw that out.
That's awesome.
Pretty funny.
That's cool.
That's cool. So
But,
Noah Richer brings up another question I think we want to address here. Do y'all think Fern's mom has any idea about what's going on at Atten, or is she going to stumble on it with Wim's dad? I think the way they played it in the marketing, it looked like Wim's dad and Fern's mom were kind of working together to get them back. But I got so many like bad vibes from Fern's mom, and of course she's played by Carrie Condon, who's a bigger actor than I think people even suspect. But there's something going on with that. I don't know exactly what, but I think she's like privy to things that are nefarious, but I think she's kind of doing the whole thing for the greater good of it. I don't think she's totally evil or anything like that, but definitely she kind of knows what's up a little bit more so than anyone else.
I'm gonna throw one thing out there. I think you guys already talked about it.
Mm.
Star Wars just dropped like a featurette featuring Jude Law. I'm still not sold he's a Jedi, but I'm also leaning towards him being a Jedi because I don't know how you pull off the key trick without some sort of trickery
Training
or sleight of hand. So because they did that, my initial theory of him not being a Jedi, I'm feeling a lot less confident about. And the featurette they dropped like 20 minutes ago doesn't help because he's still in the featurette saying whether or not he's force sensitive. And it's like, what do you mean whether or not? We just saw it.
Yeah, but
we saw
not everything is what it seems, though, Ted.
I'm just saying. It's great that they're still holding on to this sort of like ambiguity about it. Even though,
because I mean, it's also for the kids too. I mean, the kids that are watching it and watching all this stuff, and like, I think there's a huge like marketing towards
Matt
the
said
whole kid factor of it all.
Magnets.
Which is
now Jude Law's character. I was going to say, he does look like he's been in that cell for a long time. I mean, he almost looks as bad as James.
I appreciate that. But I will. So I had a theory, Ted and Craig, before y'all came on, which was I have a feeling he is force sensitive. They're trying to keep it a secret, but I feel like he was never taught because the Galactic Civil War began, and I think his parents hid him. So I think they're also pirates, and he just grew up in that world, and he had to hold back all of those those powers. But he knew a little bit. He knew how to do a few things. And once the kids are there, once he sees they have money, once he knows they have a ship, he's like, "Oh, this is my way out. Now I'm going to grab the keys. Now we're going to get out of here." That is my theory. And then Wim is like, "You're a Jedi," and he's like, "Yeah." And like he just wants to like make sure that they're happy because he's trying to get the hell out of there. He just wants to leave. And that is my theory, and I'm going to hold on to it until they say no. So
Jude Law could always really get out of that cell. He just needed like a proper plan and like a getaway scenario to actually use the Force, pick up the keys, unlock the cell, and get out. Or is it the first time the keys were ever placed there by those Constable Zubio aliens that were there?
That theory is the only thing that makes sense. I said the same thing last week. Like, why wait till now? It's because he has a ship finally to get off the station.
Has a plan.
But I was listening to you guys earlier, and you mentioned, do they know about actual Jedis, specific Jedis?
Yeah.
And Colin, who
you mean
translated a lot of the text from last week, because we were talking like, oh, that's Mustafar, and oh, this scene is from Acolyte. We were looking at those holographic textbooks, whatever, and we were like, oh, these are things we know, but the text is all different. The names have all been changed to protect the innocent. So that's just another thing. Is like I feel like history is being manipulated for these for this society.
Yeah, you're
Because
right.
these characters look the same. None of the names are the same. They're all switched around. They're all renamed characters and renamed scenarios and situations. However, they all look vastly similar to other stories that we all know and love.
You touch on a good point, which is why, if this is a dystopian prison planet, or which we're all thinking, why would they have access to this? What does it actually say? What is being taught to these kids? That is interesting. I didn't think about it that way. So yeah, so his perception of Jedi might be different because of what he's been learning. Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that.
I
Whose
love
But
it.
he
perception?
did say, like, but they did talk about Jedi and like how they're good and they help people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
whose perception?
Wim
What are
said
you talking about, James?
No, but
he,
like what I'm saying is, if this is a prison planet, why would they be allowed to be reading stuff about the Jedi and hope and that there's good people out in the galaxy? Like,
Maybe that book got to him through a way that wasn't
So,
approved. Would
we
have
got to
landed
figure
on the
that out.
ship.
We got
I
to
don't
figure out.
I don't think this is a prison planet. Because everybody seems like they are highly educated. I mean, we've got an old lady on the street walking her dog thing, you know. I just
They don't know it's a prison planet.
Right,
They don't know
exactly.
they can leave.
Yeah,
They
they think
have
there's a barrier.
they have full access to leave the planet, but the barrier prevents them from doing it, and it's bad. Barrier bad. This is The Village, M. Night Shyamalan's movie.
Yeah, this is
Everything inside the fence is good. Everything inside the forest tree line is good. Certain colors are good. Whatever. Do not cross because there are bad things outside the tree line. It's they're not dumb people. They're
Right.
not ignorant. They are manipulated though, like for sure. And the fact that they know about Jedis is super intriguing. It's a very intriguing, and it's widely known because he's got action figures, unless they make them themselves. But he's got action figures in his house, and he plays with them, and they practice being Jedis out in the street with their fake lightsabers. So like, no, they celebrate Jedis, but they may not know about the real ones. Again, this planet feels so out of place, not because suburbia is bad, but it just feels so out of place that if there's more to its existence outside of what we've already talked about, I will not be surprised. Time
Yeah.
feels manipulated on this planet, and I have no evidence to say why, but it just feels like.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. And then what
Absolutely.
Matt said, just like we did as kids, we heard about the Star Wars and the Jedi, and we had our own adventures, and which is why I love this show. And I'm so mad it came out now and not when in the 90s when I was a kid, you know, because this would have been the best show in the whole world to watch. But
and
yeah,
I can
so
tell my daughter is 6.5, and she's really loved it. She sat in front of the TV watching it the whole time, which is a big deal for a 6-year-old. And she seems to really like it, and she remembered the characters' names, and she was asking questions about them. So she seems to really be into the show.
Let me guess.
In
Her favorite
fact, my
was
son was watching it too. No, she seemed. I mean, she seemed more interested in the girls.
Fern and KB.
You know, Fern and KB. Yeah, but you know, I'll let you know more as because she'll watch the next episode tomorrow. But it's great, you know, to see your kids into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And more so than the other Star Wars shows.
that's true because, you know, Mando is as great as it is. It's not like kids are not going to get a lot of the story. They're not going to get a lot of the plot. No offense to kids, but you know, like me, like when they get older, they're going to be like, oh, that's what was going on. I just like to see Grogu. I didn't know that there was all this stuff happening. But yeah, the fact that it's children and they are in a Star Wars adventure, that is very intriguing to younger people who are into Star Wars, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is an adventure for me. This is an adventure for us to watch. And how would I be in a situation like this? And which character do I like and do I want to be? Because you know, I'm a little bit younger than y'all, not by much, but you know, when we were growing up, it was just Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia, Chewbacca, like Darth Vader. That was it. Now look at all these amazing characters that they could say, "Oh my gosh, I want to be KB. I want to be, you know, I want to be." I think that's really exciting for the next generation of Star Wars fans. What is Noah saying here on YouTube? I can't recall. Did they say that no one leaves the planet? The bus droid looks exactly like our droid that they all.
They said something about no ships come or go, or something like that.
Yeah,
They
The
definitely
droid
allude
said it.
to.
The droid said,
Yeah.
The kids are already on the starship, which is like already wild to them. And while it's taken off, they're saying we can't get past the barrier.
yeah.
But when they
"Yep."
go, nothing stops them because it's all a ruse.
And I
Yeah,
think one of the kids does reference like, "Oh my gosh, what are those?" And I think Fern goes, "Those are stars."
Those are stars.
Yeah.
And it was like,
But
I remember when I
they're not
So
even
there
used
are
to
so
stars.
many of them.
yeah, it's crazy to think that there's a whole it's a Star Wars adventure, which is what they're calling it, but there's a mystery going on. There's a big mystery also happening with this episode and this show, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm intrigued like 100%. I want to know. I'm so mad that we have to wait each week. You know, even though that has been the norm since the beginning of time, but just these past few years we've been binge watching everything. But this is one of those shows that I'm like, I need to know everything because I want to see how this whole thing progresses. And how many episodes are we're getting? 8 episodes, right? So
8. Yeah.
it feels like a lot. What they've already set up, it feels like there's a lot already happening. So do you think they're going to do it, or do you think? And we've just found out today there's talking of season 2 with the Skeleton Crew if this is a success, which we're all thinking that it will be. Yeah, there's
So
gonna be a
far,
time jump.
people really seem to.
Yeah, we
So
mentioned
far,
earlier
people seem
that
really like to.
Yes, that's true, Craig. Yeah, so far everybody loves it. So yeah, so I think we probably will be getting that season 2. And what were you saying, David? Sorry.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier that it's the second highest rated in comparison to Andor out there. But apparently, Skeleton Crew did not crack the top 10 in streaming views. But as we saw with the Acolyte like had like huge viewership once the whole entire series was over. So I suspect that's going to happen with this. So dependent, of course, common sense on the success of the show, then they could make a season 2. John Watts and Christopher Ford have addressed this, and they said yes, they do have ideas for season 2. It's just dependent on if this is successful or not, and also the kids are going to age even more so because this thing was shot like 2 years ago, and then these kids were I think 12 at the time of shooting, so they're going to hit some major growth spurts here, and be totally different. So, and they did address they even talked about the whole Stranger Things situation where the kids like way too old for the age they were supposed to be.
Yeah, what is it? Season 5 is next year, and I'm like, was it Millie Bobby Brown's already married? I think a few of the other guys are married, and it's like, all right, they're supposed to be like 12 or 13 years old right now. So, jeez. They really ruined it with that one. But so here's another question. Mandalorian and Grogu movie coming out next couple of years. Are we going to see Skeleton Crew? Are we going to see them in there? Are we going to see these guys somehow tie into that plot? Are we, you know what I mean?
Well, it's already shot, like we talked about earlier. So I don't know if the kids are going to be in it at all. Maybe the kids will be in it. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, of course, Favreau and Filoni were executive producers, so they kind of know how the story is going to unfold if they have the kids to be available at some point. Jude Law, I think, has the most chance to be in the Mando Grogu thing. Other than that, I mean, I really don't. In Vane, maybe he's like the connective villain for everything, so everyone kind of knows what timeline they're in. Other than that, yeah, that's.
I will say I know David was a little disappointed because we did not get the timeline view of showing us where we were in Star Wars. So David wanted to have a visual representation of the Star Wars timeline, and we see what's going on, and then we kind of zoom in on that gap between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, so that everybody knows, oh, this is where we are, because most people aren't going to know where this takes place in Star Wars. And they did pretty good with the opening non-crawl in letting us know it's after the war and everything like that. But
they say exactly where we're at with that verbiage, but
yeah,
I mean,
but most people are, I don't know, like I said, season finale of season 2 of Mando, people were like, what's Luke Skywalker doing there? That doesn't make any sense. And I was like, oh my gosh, you just watched 2 whole seasons of Mandalorian and didn't realize where the timeline where we were. And then once I told them, then they said, oh, now it all makes sense. And I was like, oh my gosh. But anyways,
yeah, I was gonna say we're a little less than 15 minutes from showtime, but I want to get all you guys' opinions on the big casting announcement that happened yesterday. So Jeremy Allen White is gonna play Jabba the Hutt's son, Rada the Hutt, and we actually got some new info today. But guys, what are your initial reactions to Jeremy Allen White playing a Hutt?
I honestly don't know who he is. I've never seen that show. What is it? The Bear?
Yeah, The Bear.
Is that the show? I've never seen it, so I don't even know.
Well, he's won back-to-back Emmys for it.
I thought you were being sarcastic. I was like, everybody's seen The Bear.
I've never seen it.
I saw episode 1 and I was like, man, this is way too slow for me.
I'll go.
Yeah,
go for it.
I've been a Jeremy Allen White stan since season 2 of Shameless. That's when I got into that show.
Yeah.
He played Lip on that show. Cameron Monaghan played Ian, his younger brother. And the two of them were giving out flat out Oscar-worthy performances every season on Shameless.
Oh yeah.
And Shameless will forever be one of the most underrated comedies of all time. Jeremy does intense really well. He's a fantastic actor, but like most of the time he's being asked to play intense characters and give very intense performances. He's done very little sort of slapstick comedy or physical comedy in his projects that I've seen. There might be some others that I've not been privy to, but it's surprising that he's going to voice more than likely a CG character or a puppet character in the Star Wars universe. He's an Emmy winner. He's a prolific drama actor, and so being a younger Huttese alien is super surprising to me, because Jeremy is not animated in his acting. You know what I mean? Like, he's not charismatic. He's not
like an Andy Serkis
outgoing type. Yeah. So it doesn't sound like the perfect casting choice to me. And that's coming from somebody who's watched this guy grow up, because in Shameless, he started when he was 15, 14, maybe.
He was young.
He was really young. So I've been watching him for more than a decade, I think. And so I'm a massive fan of his. It feels like it could be just a cameo. It could be like, hey, Cameron Monaghan said he wants you to be this alien for a quick thing. And he probably agreed, because it just doesn't feel like it's a massive role, a part of this movie.
Bespin
So
Bulletin is saying that it is a big role, Ted.
Yeah, I was about to touch on that.
Ah, really?
Yeah, and Bespin is pretty reliable. So
yeah, actually, Bespin knew about this for a while, and they just didn't report on it. And then when it was dropped by Jeff Snyder, then the trades ran with it, Variety and Hollywood Reporter. But apparently not only is Rada the Hutt going to be like a main character in there, it's the first time we're going to see how do I want to say this?
Do it. Just say it. Just say exactly how you want to say it. Yeah.
A not as large version of a Hutt, a buff Hutt.
A muscular Hutt.
A very muscular Hutt.
Again, I'll say it because it still holds true. It's a very surprising choice.
Oh, it is.
I don't know if you cast someone who's a dramatic actor who plays intense very, very well, to not actually do something that sort of is in his wheelhouse. He might be trying to out new things, but like I mentioned yesterday on David's stream with I think it was Colin, he's they're best friends. Him and Cameron, they're
Count
basically
Kestis.
brothers. They've grown up together. So it could be something drastic different than what I'm thinking about, but it's such an odd thing to make him his character.
Noah on YouTube asks, with casting like this, do you think they have him speak basic or Hutties? Have we ever seen a Hutt speak basic in live action? Not in live action, but I know in Clone Wars we did get. I'm going to call him Truman Capote because that's who they based him off of. But
Zero the Hutt, yeah.
yeah, he spoke, basic, and I think even his mother, I forget what her name was, she also spoke basic as well. So I'm anxious to see how that voice is going to sound, whether or not it's going to be Jeremy Allen White or it's going to be like the Jabba the Hutt version. I don't know. It's really interesting, and it's a kind of a shock that he's going to play that role. So just gonna have to wait and see. I think that's going to be a big mystery, almost like when Heath Ledger was announced as the Joker. We were just like, well, what is that going to sound like? What is that going to be like? Everybody hated that idea back in 2005 or 2006 when it was announced.
Not me.
Not me.
Oh, really?
Not me.
Oh, I was like, let's see what happens. And then when that first teaser dropped, when you hear Heath Ledger's voice, I was like, oh, okay, yep, he's gonna be amazing. So I guess I'm just gonna patiently wait and see how that all plays out, and whether or not it's gonna be a puppet or a digital Hutt, I don't know either. So
What
we'll see.
what do you guys think the story's going to be about for this? Because I mean, it's odd to shift from the Mandalorian to now it's called Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah.
And I think are they just playing on Grogu's popularity to put his name in the
Yeah,
title?
it's just marketing.
It's marketing, but also the story now. Mando's journey of what he wanted to do with Grogu has ended. Now it's the two of them are now together and go on adventures. So now that is the official title of Mandalorian and Grogu are now together. And marketing, yes, but also, and I think in story wise, it does make sense that now you would call it that. Even the if they do a season 4, I think it would be called The Mandalorian and Grogu because that's the adventure. That's the characters we're going to be following now.
So what big thing? What big? Do you guys have any idea or thoughts about what big thing is going to take place in this movie? I mean, any idea about plot or story or what is it going to be
I'm
tied
pretty
to the
sure
First Order?
We have to get to
Somehow?
Force Awakens. We have to get to Snoke. We have to
Well,
get
no.
to
This is the film before the film that you're
the film
describing, James.
before.
Because
okay.
Filoni has his Avengers style film in the future. So I
Okay.
think this film might continue from season 3, where we actually get to see Din Djarin ride the Mythosaur and become, I guess, the king of the Mandalorians or something. I don't know. But I think we're going to see that, if not in this film, in the next film. And then he's going to unite Mandalore, and they're going to go up against whatever remnant is there. And then it'll pick up in the next film where we get, hopefully, Luke, Leia, and Han, and the Falcon, and Chewie, and all that. Save the day.
I mean, do you guys think that's possible? I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
do you guys really
totally
think
possible.
do that?
By then, it's going to be even easier to have the original trilogy people in there because the technology is just going to get better.
I don't know. Seeing Han Solo and Leia and
They
the
did
Falcon,
it with Mark Hamill. I mean,
that would be
I
like
mean,
top.
I mean, not for nothing, but Luke looked great in Book of Boba Fett, and that came out 2 years ago, and that was a year or two in the making so we're looking at technology 4 years ago already.
yeah,
So if they film that a year from now, I mean, it's going to look unbelievable.
right. And it's going to be on the big screen too. So
But
I will
back to
leap
your
like
question. But I have no idea what the Mandalorian and Grogu. I have no idea what the plot will be like. I'm just anxious to see what's going to happen with the next chapter. Noah had a great question, which was, would anyone else like to see Cobb Vanth pop up and save the kids from some pirates? That would be amazing.
That's a
Cobb
possibility.
Vanth was a great addition to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And Timothy Olyphant just fit in perfect. Like the moment he started talking, I was like, "Oh, Timothy Olyphant is in Star Wars. Like he's been here this whole time." And but yeah, to see
Yeah,
him, that would be pretty great.
And it was weird, we see him at the Bacta tank in the end, but nothing's come of it. Not a word, not a peep, not a project, nothing.
So hopefully they're keeping him alive for a good project in the future, because I want to see him coming back again. And then Darth Beard asked, "Do we really think we're heading for a whole Heir to the Empire trilogy?"
No and yes. We're not headed for a trilogy, but we're headed for a movie, I think.
That'd be exciting.
I would be thrilled if they did what we should have gotten going into the sequel trilogy. Oh yeah, it's an Obi-Wan.
Oh my gosh, it is. That's fantastic. That looks great.
It's got some lint.
Cute. What's it say? Hello there. Oh, nice.
Hello
I
there.
like it. Representing. But yeah, it looks like we are about 4 minutes out. I am excited. I am ready. I am pumped for this next episode. And like Ted, I really hope we get off the space station very, very soon and we get this plot going very, very quickly, because from episode 1 to episode 2, it was like, oh, this story is going, and this, I like it a lot. So what about y'all? Are y'all ready for this next episode?
I'm excited. I like the first 2 episodes, and I feel good about where the show is going. I feel like there's going to be a lot that we're not expecting.
I think we will get moving a little bit in this 3rd episode, just to kind of reiterate or just mention again. This is the final episode that was given to the media and the press. So this is the last episode they've already watched. So I think we'll start getting like really big reveals starting next week. But today we'll at least get the story pushed a little bit further. And there is still one more picture still that was released that I believe we have not seen. It might be in this one, and it involves Jude Law's character basically walking up to a security door or some sort of fortified compound. I think that's the only official picture still that we haven't seen yet. Oh, this one I've not seen either.
Ooh.
So apparently that's Sith writing that's actually been interpreted already.
But, that better be the next episode, man. That has to be the next. That looks so intriguing.
And it's old too. It's been out for a while. So yeah, these are old pictures I have, but
I'm stoked. Let's hope they stick the landing on this one, because the setup has been fantastic, and that's half the battle. The other half is sticking the landing.
Agreed.
Yeah, so for everyone listening to us and watching us, we'll be back for the post show immediately following the end of episode 3. So come back and hang out with us and join the conversation. And may the force be with you all.
Always.